Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Neil Lennon and Tam McManus here with me on this Monday. Great to have your company. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel and you can join the football family. And here's what we have coming up on today's show. Brendan Rodgers reveals a major Celtic injury blow with midfielder Rio Hatate ruled out until after Christmas. Philippe Clement claims he told Rangers players at half-time they could score twice in 5 minutes to stun Hearts.
We keep on going because we are a team who can score 2 goals in 5 minutes.
Stephen Naismith fumes over Rangers penalty award after claiming VAR angle didn't show Hearts player being blocked before the shirt pull.
It gets given by VAR that so I've went and spoke to the referee who said he never gets shown any video footage of any block happening.
Messi is favourite to be crowned Ballon d'Or winner tonight for a record 8th time, with Jude Bellingham in line for the Young Player Award. Yeah, lots to talk about on the programme, and we might as well start with Ibrox, where it was the late show for Rangers in the match against Hearts. An interesting one with lots of great topics for us to discuss, controversial ones. So, penalties will be at the forefront of it, Ruffy. 2 penalties, 2 stick-ons, or are you going to contest 1 or 2 with us?
No, not at all. I can see where Stevie Naismith's coming for the second one. I think he was obstructed, but I think he ran into, I think it was Lundstrom before he actually tugged the jersey. The tugging the jersey is the penalty kick because the ball is coming out of that area that Golson's going to attack, so it's a penalty for me.
So anybody who's arguing with it would probably say, yeah, fine, tugging on the shirt. If that's the case, consistency, tugging on the shirt every week.
Yeah, I have a lot of sympathy for Stephen on this one. Blocking goes on all the time at corners. It is illegal, but players get away with it all the time, Pete. So he is blocking Herring to a certain extent. There is a tug of the shirt. That is blatant, and I can see why, the referee has given the decision, but it's soft. There's no question. The other one on Cantwell's a Stonewall penalty. I have no issue with that whatsoever, but I can understand Stephen's frustration, but I can see it from the other side as well, where it was given.
Yeah, Hearts manager Stephen Naismith angry.
Where Rangers players were not even interested in the ball. All they're doing looking at our man, blocking our players to stop them obviously losing their runner. To which I spoke to officials during the game who said if that happened and it was given as a goal or that, it would be given as a foul. Lo and behold, at the end of the game, there's a clear block on our man. John Lundstrom's not even interested in the ball. All he's doing is looking at our player. And he blocks him. And then it gets given by VAR that. So I've went and spoke to the referee who said he never gets shown any video footage of any block happening.
Well, has he got a point?
No, I don't think he has. I think that, as Neil said, that happens at every set piece, every corner kick, every free kick. You work on it in training. You get somebody to isolate someone and block them, and you maybe get somebody running off them. That's what happened. It's never going to be a foul given in that situation. And Rangers player's clever. He blocks him, he just runs across him, and I thought it was a penalty. I thought the referee got both the penalty decisions right.
Yeah. Is it more painful because they're so close to getting that win?
Yeah, absolutely. To be fair, the goal Shanklin scored is a quality goal. He has a lot to do, Tom, with a header. And there's not much purchase on the cross, and he gets so much power and accuracy, from his own sort of movement. And then, it ebbed and flowed. Rangers had I thought a couple of good chances, particularly in the first half. But yeah, when you get into the sort of 90-minute sort of part of the game, you're thinking, can we see this through? And then a soft penalty goes against you. It's very frustrating. But you can't take anything away from the second goal as well. That is a quality goal, although Stephen will be disappointed with the defend and the crossing from Tavernier, and the finish is sublime.
Yeah, and the Rangers manager well happy with not only the win but the manner of it, with that last surge in the last 5 minutes.
But as told them in halftime also, we keep on going because we are a team who can score 2 goals in 5 minutes. And that's okay. It was not 5 minutes in between, but that needs to be our strength for the rest of the season. That we keep our tempo high, and in that way never stop, and we're going to win a lot of games.
If anything, the only weakness on losing the goal in Shanklin, as Neil mentioned, did have a lot to do, Ruffy, still to get that ball back across goal. Yilmaz, back end, small left back.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you do your homework before the games. You know, there's quite a lot of teams have got a small fullback. You know, Greg Taylor at Celtic could be exploited as well. And obviously, I don't know if they worked on it or not, but certainly it's a ploy that you would use, and it worked for them on that occasion. But I thought Rangers were poor. I mean, the Rangers support were booing, you know, before they got the penalty, so they weren't particularly happy. Yeah, you can say, no, well done for keep going to the end of the game, but you're the home side. You've got to keep going and try and get that win.
Well, let me flip that on its head and quite simply say, you know, and Neil will be well aware of this, of win, just win, win again. Whereas before they were slipping up, Philippe Clement won't be caring about the manner of the victory. He's got time to work and change and tweak as the weeks come on. As long as he keeps racking up the wins, suddenly Rangers fans are looking and saying, wait a minute, we've closed the gap.
Yeah, they have closed the gap, and it was all about winning. I think Celtic obviously dropping points the day before. It was important for Rangers to win the game. You know, we spoke about it in here on Saturday. I thought it would be a tough game for Rangers. I think the pressure was on. It's the first time they've really been in a situation where if we win, we can close the gap. They've done that, you know, by hook or by crook, whether it's, you know, 4 or 5-0 or 2-1, it's 3 points and it closes the gap. But I think there's a lot to work on. I think that, you know, they were very sloppy at times in the final third. Dessers hooked at half time. I don't think the Rangers supporters are having him at all. But Danilo's goal was a great ball in, and his movement, he takes the defender forward and then peels in behind him. Lovely bit of movement, and I think they've got to give James Tavernier a bit of credit as well. I think he showed bottle, character, missing the first penalty, scoring the equaliser and then setting up the winning goal. So you think they've got to give James Tavernier a lot of credit for having the bottle when it can been easy for him to hide.
Yeah, Neil, I don't buy into the whole situation of being highly critical of James Tavernier. No. I don't get it, because I think as a captain, okay, sometimes you're judged on if you're a Rangers or Celtic captain, you've got to win trophies, but he has been, if anything, at times for me, the shining light in a team of mediocrity.
Yeah, I think going forward, he's one of the best fullbacks around in terms of assists, in terms of goals himself from open play, Peter.
Yeah.
And he scores goals in big games for Rangers, far more than you would expect from a fullback. So I totally agree with your sentiment that, yeah, I don't get the criticism. I don't think he's a great defender. And sometimes I think that, you know, people should look at that, maybe play him at a wing-back position or something like that. But in terms of what he gives to the team in his actions rather than his words, are fantastic.
Well, give me your insight as a manager then. You know, sometimes in Britain we are guilty of highlighting a person's negativity,
yes,
rather than looking at what he can do well, which is, you know, I read Johan Cruyff's book, and he looked for the good in a player,
yeah,
rather than highlighting the weaknesses.
I used to ask people about players, and the first thing they would say to me is, you can't do this and you can't. I don't really want to know what he can't do. What are his strengths? What is he good at? We can iron out the problems, you know, going forward. But Tavernier's technical crossing ability is wonderful. I mean, to actually hit that cross on the run is a difficult skill to do, and it's a 40-yard cross with a bit of, you know, whip on it, and it's perfectly placed onto the head of Danilo, and that's what he does. Whether it be free kicks, corners, you know, in open play. I don't know what his goal return is for Rangers over the years. And everyone go, yeah, he takes loads of penalties, but still, if he scored over 100 goals for Rangers...
Is it about 108 now?
Right, well, here's one for you. So, take the penalties out of it, you're still looking at maybe 40, 50 goals from a fullback, which is an incredible return, really. And yet, he does get criticism. I don't know where it comes from, because there are other players who nowhere near contribute to the team the way he does.
Yeah. Okay, it's such a huge week coming up, because it's not only midweek football for Rangers, but the League Cup at the weekend is where everybody says, okay, he's going to have time to change his team, but they're expecting a League Cup victory for Rangers.
Yeah, I think most Rangers supporters will be looking at who's left in the group, the semi-finals, and they will expect to win that trophy. You know, it puts a bit of added pressure on the team, you know, because they haven't won that many in the last few years. So I think the Rangers are getting there. I think they are better than the other teams that are in the semi-final. So why not? You know, it should be a trophy for them.
Yeah, okay. Title race on?
Yeah, I think it is. I think if Rangers can continue to win up until the 30th of December and keep that gap to 5, then it is on. But they can't afford to slip up. Any slip-ups will be crucial at this point. But they've still got to go to Parkhead and get something out of the game. and it's not happened very often.
Yeah, okay. Dundee in midweek for Rangers, and then, of course, that League Cup semi-final, and we'll bring you the build-up to all of that as well. You've been a manager sometimes going to grounds where everybody's saying, oh, Celtic are definitely going to win, and sometimes you just come up short. Hibs 0, Celtic 0.
Yeah, look, it didn't surprise me. For one thing, they played on Sunday away, then they had a really difficult game on Wednesday night where they played really well, but they put so much into it, Peter. And then that's a Wednesday night, so you've got, again, a 2-day recovery, and then you're travelling to play Hibs, who can be anything on the day. So, while everyone will be disappointed that they didn't win the game, it's a point away from home, and you just got to take that and accept it under the circumstances. It's really difficult to get yourself back up again after you put so much into what was like a really high intense game on Wednesday night. You know, not only in terms of the physical output, but mentally. And the quality and the speed of the game, the intensity of the game was of a very high nature. I thought it was a wonderful game of football to watch. And it's really difficult to get back up to that level again in the space of 2 days. So, while it's disappointing from Celtic's fans' perspective, I think you got to just accept it's a point and move on.
Yeah, with that in mind, though, I'm looking at the changes that he is making in these games. Obviously, you know, you look at the higher standard Atletico Madrid. He's made changes second half, brought on Nat Phillips. Obviously, wanted to set his stall out when they still had the advantage against Atletico Madrid. When you look at the bench, I'm looking at the players he's bringing on just the hour and beyond. Ralston obviously on for Johnson because there was an injury. But is 65 minutes, maybe even later than that now. His goal record is not great. And some of the other players from the bench are finding it difficult to even state a case.
Yeah, I don't think Celtic have got great strength and depth, Peter. I don't think, you know, in the past occasions, Celtic could bring on 3 or 4 real quality players that would go and win that game and get you a goal. You know, I don't think they've got the same strength and depth at the minute, Celtic, and maybe Brendan would look back at it and maybe think I could have made a few changes to freshen it up. I thought the front 3 looked knackered. I thought they looked knackered. He hooked the 3 of them and towards the end of the game, once he put those subs on, they got a wee bit of a spark, but maybe he would have started with those boys. Looking back, I don't know, but I thought Hibs merited the point. I thought they played well. I thought they played a system where I didn't think they were going to play 4-4-2. He kind of tweaked it. He played 4-4-1-1. He played the wee boy Venti sat on top of Callum McGregor, and he'd done a great job in a real selfless task for the team. Kind of sacrificed himself for the team, and Callum McGregor couldn't control the game like he usually does. And I thought that was a big plus and a big bonus for Hibs getting a point out of the game. And Martin Boyle at the top end of the pitch to stop Celtic squeezing. So, although Celtic were poor on the day, I thought Hibs deserve a lot of credit for the performance and the shape that they obviously worked on all week to get a point.
And the Hibs manager was well happy with the point.
I thought today we contained a lot of their threats, and they have a lot of them. I thought we defended really well. I thought we defended resolute when we needed to. And, you know, in terms of us attacking, I thought we probably had the best chance of the game, other than the crossbar incident at the end when, you know, Lewis Miller, who had a fantastic game, you know, got caught out on a short corner and his man was free at the back post. I thought other than that, cannot fault the boys' effort, and I thought at times we played some good stuff, and I thought the boys were brave and courageous.
Well, fair play to Hibs. They battled away to get their point. The downside of it all is Brendan Rodgers, speaking to the press today, confirmed a real blow for one of their talented midfielders. This is what he had to say on Rio Hatate. We're not certain on the exact timing of that, but he'll certainly be out until after Christmas. He's had a broken start to the season, and this will take him to the halfway point of the league season. It's very frustrating for someone who dedicates himself to his game. That is a huge blow to them.
Yeah, I don't think they've got another Hatate. I don't think they've got that kind of player. I think he's going to be badly missed. He gives you something going forward, you know, and goals as well. So it'll be interesting to see who takes up that void. I know the Benfica boy's been given a run. He just looked as if he wasn't up to the pace of the game at the weekend, but he looks as if he's the one that's going to get it. I was going to say, Neil, just to get back on, and I agree with everything you're saying about the games coming up and players being tired and all that. But as a manager, if that's all going through your head, like, why does he play 10 of the 11 that played in all these games? What goes through your head? Is that him saying, well, I don't think the other guys are possibly good enough?
Possibly. And you know, you go to the players and you say how you feeling, and they'll tell you they're feeling good. And the fact that they played really well, Ruffy, in the first half on Wednesday night, he's probably thinking, yeah, well, just keep that bit of momentum going. But it is difficult, and I know it sounds like an excuse, but I've experienced it myself as a player. You know, when you play that high-octane game on a Wednesday night, and then, you know, you're playing again a few days later, it does. You do need an extra day to really get back to full pelt. And I wonder if he thinks some of them are ready, you know, ready to play. You know, some of the younger ones, you know, throw them in there when the team needs results at the minute. I mean, he only made 2 changes on Wednesday night against Atletico. He brought on Phillips and Forrest late on.
Yeah.
So
Bernardo had to come on because of Hatate.
Yeah. And then, you know, you've got Bernardo, you've got Turnbull. You could maybe look at Iwata as a holding one and maybe push McGregor forward, because sometimes I think he's a little bit wasted there.
Yeah.
You know, and give him a bit more forward impetus, because
He has signed Yang though, and then
Yang's a winger, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's signed Yang, and then puts on Mikey Johnson.
Well, maybe he feels that, you know, he needs more time to integrate into what he wants him to do. You know, it's the same with the young lad Holm as well, the Norwegian boy. I think they'll be good players in time. I mean, O'Reilly's a classic example. Like, nobody ever heard of O'Reilly. He comes up from MK Dons, and 3 years down the line, he's now the best player in the country, probably.
Yeah. I mean, it's a dilemma for him. I think he will looking and wondering, you know, if these players should be making more of a contribution.
Well, I think that's the point I was trying to make. If the players, I think last year, the players that were on the bench, when Celtic were winning every week, it was great bringing them on with 20 minutes to go. But now it looks as if you can't start with them, because he doesn't think they're good enough to win the game from 3 o'clock. You might want to bring them on later on, but it proved at the weekend there, as you said there, the ones that are coming on didn't have enough impact.
Yeah, and with that in mind, without taking any, I think we've got to be unbelievably positive about Hibs as well, because sometimes if you get to a situation where Celtic or Rangers have dropped points, you don't get the chance to mention the qualities that Hibs showed to get that point. They've got Ross County, they've got Aberdeen at home, that's 2 games, then St Mirren, Kilmarnock and Dundee. Now, you always mention to us on a regular basis, sometimes there's a run of games coming up that give you a right good chance, you know, to make an impact, not only in the league, but if they get past Aberdeen, suddenly he could have a cup final on his hands.
Yeah, they've got a nice run of games coming up. They've had a really tough run. You know, they've had Hearts away, Rangers away and Celtic at home the last 3 games, so a real tough run of fixtures. Ross County during the week, at midweek, they'd be looking to pick up 3 points to get back up that table. And then we're also going to speak about Aberdeen later on. I seen them yesterday and I thought they were dreadful. So I think if you have support, you're thinking, fancy them at Hearts as well, getting to the final. So, you know, all of a sudden, and to be fair to Nick Montgomery, he stuck to his guns. You know, it could be easy for him to maybe play 5 at the back, but he didn't. He stuck to his guns. He tweaked it a little bit, the 4-4-2, and he got his results from it. So you've got to give Hibs a lot of credit. Celtic looked leggy, looked tired, but I thought Hibs were at it and they deserved the point.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you and I were discussing it, Ruffy. You know, pundits, when they stick to their guns and say there's no way he's going to play 4-4-2 again, but we're hoping he would go straight 4-4-2 and then we'd get Tam's resignation, you know, because obviously, you know, he's bumping his gums week in, week out, and old Nick's going, no, we're going with the 2 forwards again.
I don't think Nick was happy last week when I said that. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well done, Nick.
But the good thing about it is Tam won't be able to face the manager when he has that opinion, because he always runs away and makes sure he's
does
not,
he?
Yeah, he's one of these, I'll throw out a tweet and then I'll get into a cupboard and not actually face up to it, where some others take it on the chin.
You just bite, but you can't resist it. If somebody bites back, you can't resist it.
Really?
Oh, he's all over it.
Of course, you've got to. You've got to have a noise up with everybody. Listen, if anybody's getting great credit on this programme, Ruffy, it's got to be St Mirren.
It was a great performance, and then when you start looking at the players that they've got, a lot of them are really turning it on, you know, and they're enjoying their football. They're obviously winning games, and why not? You wouldn't you be enjoying it? The fans are coming back in their numbers as well, so no, good luck to them. You know, I think when we all discussed top 6, I don't think 3 of the top 6 it is just now was anywhere near our top 6. So it remains to be seen whether they can hang on in there and get a top 6, which would be a tremendous achievement for this year.
Yeah, of course, in the end, that 4-0 win over St Johnstone cost Stephen MacLean his job. The stats were not great for Stephen MacLean. If you have a look, it just didn't add up for him as far as his overall games in charge. 19 league games played, 9, no wins, 4 draws, 5 losses, only 4 points. Goals scored 3, goals against 15. I think you and I, Tam, on the show on Saturday knew right away that there are always results which you say break the camel's back. And you and I were surprised it wasn't even Saturday night when they announced it.
Yeah, I think probably Saturday night they were discussing it behind the scenes and his payoff and stuff like that. So no, I don't think there was any way back from them. Those stats are pretty damning. 3 goals scored in 9 league games. That's really, really poor. And 4-0 away to St Mirren. I think the last manager was Tony Mowbray that lost 4-0 to St Mirren. He got jotted as well. So maybe it's a St Mirren thing if you could beat 4-0 off of them. But no, I think that they've got to get somebody else in quickly. I think they're in danger of getting cut adrift now. I think they're 5 points, to second bottom. So they're in danger now of getting cut adrift. And there's some interesting names that have come up in the betting.
Well, I was just about to say that to you because now we don't want rid of you. We love you as part of the team here. And of course, the fact that we'll obviously have to take legal action on the 3-year deal that you've signed with us here at PLZ, and we're going to be difficult to deal with.
Make them train with the kids.
Absolutely. Yeah, just that lone run with you and Adam and Kerry training at the field. But nevertheless, St Johnstone, it's another job. I've got to ask, because you're linked with these jobs.
Ask me.
St Johnstone, is there a job that would interest you? Is there a job that you expect someone to say, I want to speak to you?
Maybe, but I think it's a very difficult job currently. I think when you look at how difficult it's been for Stephen, you got to pay tribute to the job that the previous managers, Tommy Wright and Callum Davidson, did. They don't have a huge budget, and they don't really. They've always been a difficult team to play against. Pete Wright, really well set up defensively, and the goals in the team. But this season, they just look bereft of any idea of how they're going to score a goal, and they're leaking goals in at the other end. So, like you guys touched on, it was probably an air of inevitability about Stephen leaving, and this is the danger sometimes when you bring in coach. I know he was in the system, but he's a rookie really, and it'll be a tough learning experience for him. As far as my own expectations, probably not at the minute.
The point I was going to make, and I'm not being derogatory towards St Johnstone, I think there are jobs of a certain stature that Neil will be looking at, and I'm not being derogatory towards St Johnstone. I don't think that type of club is where you can. I think it's going to be difficult for anyone going into McDermott Park and making an impact. The budget will be tight. You're going to be asked to work miracles, and I'm not for a minute suggesting that you think St Johnstone's beneath you, but I think there's a level of job that you'll be looking at, and they'll have to look for a candidate who's hungry, but maybe with a wee bit of experience, Ruffy.
Yeah, I get where Neil's coming from. You have to consider the standard of where you've been, and to go back into a team bottom of the league and all the bad things that we're talking about are there. It's not the kind of place you would want to go back and re-establish yourself. I can get that, but there will be other managers out there who have been out of the roundabout for a few years will be wanting it, and they'll have to look at at what level do they want to get back in at. Some people are desperate to take anything, but whoever comes in, and if it doesn't work out, it's not a great start.
Well, I'll tell you, the worrying thing for any new manager coming in was, this is the last words the outgoing manager said after the defeat. Here's Stephen MacLean.
Goals we lose are unacceptable. The basics of football. And then the second half we just imploded. It looked like a couple of players chucked it. It's my responsibility, but lucky some of the players will play for me again. I just thought, it's not happening under my watch. So whether I need to play young boys, I thought it was really, really poor.
That's not. That is a manager who
I bet he's glad he said it now.
Is it? Well,
he's off his chest. I bet he's glad he said it now, rather than just getting sacked and not coming out and saying what he really thought. So he said what he thought there, and I think he probably knew that it was the last straw and he wasn't going to be in the job, so he just went, I'm going to say what I think. And but if you're saying that about players, you've still got to go in and coach them on Monday morning. So maybe he thought I'm goosed. I'm just going to say what I think anyway. So, listen, I feel sorry for him there. I feel sorry for anyone losing their job as a young manager, as Neil said. It's a massive learning curve, but clearly he wasn't ready for that type of level of job in the Premier League.
Yeah, he's pretty emotional there, and you've all been there, Tom. I've seen Stephen work, in the background. I actually, when they won the cup, they weren't sitting on the laurels. Him and Alec Clown were taking the under-18 team a few days later. So his work ethic and what St Johnstone meant to him was tremendous. It's just a real shame that it hasn't worked out for him, whether it be the quality of player that they brought in or he couldn't get them playing the way he wanted them to. But he looked a defeated man there, and that's what the job can do to you sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be, as you know, because you were on the board at the time at Partick Thistle, you get 50, you get 100 suddenly applications from people. Even, David Martindale's been thrown in there as possibly one of the front runners. There's going to be countless managers who think they can change that, regardless of, Steve MacLean really with a sad indictment of the quality of commitment he was getting from his players.
Yeah, I think there was one time, with Hamilton Accies were looking for a manager and there was 40 applicants. There'll be people that you're mentioning there now that are there, but there'll be other managers who haven't been talking about for the last year or two who will fancy it as well. So we'll just have to say it depends what kind of manager the board are looking at. The trend has been recently in-house appointments. Some of them have worked, some of them haven't worked. So that's the thing that the board have got to make a decision on.
Yeah, and Neil won't be aware of this, but obviously we would like to mention it anyway. After winning 650 quid with the Rugby World Cup, would you be putting some of that money on Sam Allardyce for the St Johnstone job? I just want to know.
650 quid?
650 quid.
He
bought a new... Not the right choice, may I add. But
he's got 649 left.
Somebody told me
that crocodile's maybe on the other side, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I bought this obviously cost from France.
Yeah.
The packaging was from China.
It's poor, isn't it? It really is poor, honestly. You really need to stop wearing presents. But no, not even a night out or anything. Not even a... by the way,
he's tighter than a dead teat.
Well, honestly, I was out with him on Saturday night and I thought to myself, that way when you've been mates with somebody for a long time, it's like yourself. There's no point in me saying yourself and Marty, because Marty was your agent, and if Marty had won 650 quid, he wouldn't tell you. But nevertheless, you'd expect a wee, by the way, we've been mates. There's a wee sugar for yourself.
Mint it or not? Shocking, Ruffy.
No.
Yeah, the reason I never done
not even
that
in the kitty, Peter.
And you still get these sketches on his head for 4 years.
When at the end of the night we were at, there was 3 envelopes handed out, and his is twice as thick as mine.
You're a sad man. I'll tell you one thing: the best of the managers out with, of course, the argument for the top 2 clubs in Scotland is almost certainly the man who's guided St Mirren to 3rd. Stephen Robinson, as ever, I love Stephen for this. He could go on a run of like 20 games unbeaten, but he still likes to keep a lid on the excitement.
Listen, I'm been in the game long enough to know not to think too far ahead. We've done well. It's a very good start, and that's all it is. We've not achieved anything yet. We've started really well. We've raised expectations, which is, as a fan, as a manager, as a group of players, that I haven't raised them. The players have raised them with their performances and the results. And it's now the hard bit is trying to keep meeting those expectations, which we have to try and do. If we do that, then the end product could be very beneficial for the football club, but we're a long way from that at this moment in time.
Well, I'm a huge fan of Stephen Robinson, and I look Celtic obviously in midweek, but I look at the next run of games in between, eventually heading to Ibrox. He's got about 3 or 4, Neil, that I think he'll be looking and saying we could take a few points on the road there.
Yeah, they've been terrific at home, and the result didn't surprise me. He has his team well set up. Obviously, he has a really good sort of mindset for the defensive side of the game, but he's got goals in them, Pete. He's got a good array of attacking talent. McManaman, Mandron, Grieve coming off the bench, players who'll score. He's got a real good balance in midfield with Backus and O'Hara. He knows the league very well, and he's a good coach, and he's got good staff in there behind him. And it's a really good story so far. Now he is playing it down, and he's right to do that because it's so early in the season. But the fans will be on cloud 9 with what they're seeing. I mean, that was. By all accounts, the first 30 minutes were a little bit dry, but then once they got the goal, They were in full control of it, and they've been really consistent, and they've got a really good mindset. It's almost one of them where if you go a goal down against someone, you're going to find it really difficult to get back into the game again, and that's the way he set the players out now. The mentality all around the club is very strong.
Yeah, and let's be honest about it, Ruffy. I mean, they're only 3 points behind Rangers, and they've got a game in hand. You know, and if you look at it, they're only 8 points behind Celtic. They're in third place on merit. They're 5 ahead of Kilmarnock in fourth. And I always said to you, we know that point of where there's the playoff relegation, 37 points, I think, always gets you avoiding the relegation spot. They're flying.
Yeah, they're flying now, but as the manager's there, he's enjoying every minute of it happens, because they're going to, at some stage, they're going to go through a bad spell. They're going to have a wee lull of no winning games. Every team like St Mirren is going to go through that 4 or 5 games without winning, you know, but it just depends how long he can keep winning for, because I didn't think they were a top 6 team. At the moment they should be, the way they're playing just now, but you're looking at the teams that are in that bottom half. You're looking at Hibs, you're looking at Aberdeen. You've got to say that they've got to get their act together sometime. So they're the teams that are going to be putting pressure on them to get that top 6.
Well, they were a top 6 side last season, and this season he's just built an even better side, because look at the wins.
Yeah, listen, the only kind of blip this season was the Rangers game, and listen to the handball and the penalty kick, the game's done. But they just missed out on Europe last season. And this season, listen, he's got a very, the boy Mandron scored 2 great goals at the weekend. No, good pace and power. The first goal from Bacchus, tremendous finish, edge of the box. They've got international players, Peter. They've got 3 or 4 internationals in their team. You know, it's been a long time since I've seen a St Mirren team with 3 or 4 international players. So he's built a really strong squad on a shoestring budget and doing a great job so far. But Ruffy said they're going to hit a bad patch at some point. But they might have enough points on the board just to ride that out.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you consider, you said they're going to hit a bad patch. Neil, we've looked at every other team below St Mirren, and you're talking about they're up at the top half of the table with only 2 or 3 wins from 10 games. You know, the form of the rest of the league is poor. Absolutely woeful.
Really poor. Yeah, lack of consistency. You could look at, you know, Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen being in Europe. But you know, Hibs and Hearts are out of Europe now. Aberdeen are still playing in the conference, and that can affect your domestic performances. But you expect better, Peter. More consistency for sure. And then you've got Kilmarnock now sitting in 4th, and they've already had a run where they didn't win for 3 or 4 games. So, you know, as far as St Mirren are concerned, I think the only blip for them really was Hibs beating them in the League Cup time. You know, which was, you know, a good result for Hibs, obviously. I think their league performances have been really consistent. And to be honest with you, Peter, they've got this mental strength about them at the minute where I would fancy them to go toe-to-toe with your Hibs, Hearts and Aberdeens. You know, I'm not convinced they'll get anything at Celtic Park on Wednesday night, and most people will accept that. But against the rest of the teams, they're one of the better outfits.
Yeah, and they'll give it a go anyway, because you'll have to look at their performances against Celtic in the certainly last season at Celtic Park, and they're certainly not there to be the whipping boys. You touched on Aberdeen, Ruffy. I mean, honestly, I sat through that game yesterday and I thought, if anybody, a neutral, anyone watching from anywhere on this planet watched that game, they must have wondered what century they were in. Watching Kilmarnock against Aberdeen, it was dire, and I'm not taking anything away from the fact that Killie were well deserving of their win.
No, the big boy took his goal well again, you know. But if you're an Aberdeen supporter, you know you must be scratching your head. You're seeing the highs, Aberdeen. You're seeing the lows. Far too many lows as far as they're concerned. And I think the manager will be scratching his head, because he'll be looking at it and saying to himself, "Look, I've got better players here than what I've had for a long time. Why is this consistency not happening?" So he really has to get his finger on it, and Neil will tell us that'll be in training and, you know, and trying to iron the things out that they're missing. But the second goal in particular was shocking.
Yeah, I mean, Derek McInnes, great credit to them. Vassell's first one, took it well, got the second goal, killed off any chance of Aberdeen come back into the game. And 4th, that's making Derek McInnes look rather positively at the future for Killie.
It's nice to see us sitting in the league. I know all managers have said it, you don't really look at the league table too much until the first couple of rounds, but I like where we're sitting and I want us to hang about there as long as possible. So the league's so tight, there's nothing between a lot of teams, and it's fine margins, and thankfully we've managed to win that game out the other day.
Yeah, and it's always a wee bit sweeter when you play against one of your old clubs, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd imagine it would have been for Derek. You know, you think of the longevity he had there, and the way it ended wasn't great, you know, but he's done a great job there, obviously promotion and stabilised them last year, and now they're pushing into the top 6. So it's just progression for Kilmarnock. Look, again, it's early in the season, you know, we're only 10 games in, but he'll be delighted with where they're sitting at the minute, you know, considering where they were last year.
I'm glad you mentioned that point, because that's something that I think chairmen, boards should look at, is when you're appointing someone. Derek McInnes was one of those guys who went into Kilmarnock and said, look, here is plan stage 1. I can remember the interviews. Stage 1's this, stage 2's this, stage 3 is this. You know, give me the time to do it. They get them, as they said, out of the division below and suddenly come up, bit of stability, and now you're maybe seeing, and I know they've not got a lot of wins in the league, but they're getting enough to get them into places where he's happy.
Yeah, I think Derek McInnes is a quality football manager. I think he's experienced. I think it was a great appointment. I think Kilmarnock were struggling to get out of that championship under Tommy Wright. You know, he came in, he got them over the line, you know, and they got them promoted. They consolidated last season, pretty solid. And this season they're sitting in 4th in the league. 2 wins. They've jumped from 2nd bottom to 4th with 2 wins, and that just shows you how tight the league is. But their home form again is pretty impressive. They've only lost 1 game at home. If they can start to pick up points away from home, then you can maybe see Kilmarnock getting into that top 6. But no, I think he's a tremendous football manager, Derek McInnes, and was a great appointment for Kilmarnock. And I wasn't surprised that they beat Aberdeen yesterday, who were hopeless.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to really encapsulate it all in one sentence without trying to beat around the bush. Although, when you are playing poorly, the manager, after that defeat, which was painful against PAOK in the Europa Conference, he admitted that maybe he should have changed that side around.
For me, the biggest problem it was my fault. I probably should have freshened the team up more. I think it was pretty evident that we looked very leggy first half, and it's hard to try and recapture that. We made a change at half time, we changed the shape, and then we tried to fresh more bodies on. It was probably too late, although we tried to hang in and try and get someone at the game. But that was me. I should have freshened the team up more today.
Okay, he's taking it on the chin.
It's, you know, sometimes it's a good thing to do that, sometimes it's not, from a manager's point of view. They had a really sore one on Thursday night when they were 2-0 up with 15 minutes to go and managed to somehow lose the game. They put a lot into the game then, and, you know, again, we're talking about this, you know, 2 days sort of recovery. I'm not sure many of their players are used to this, Peter.
Yeah. How easy is it to change the team, though?
It's not, you know, so, you know, sometimes you want continuity. You know, they actually, in some instances of the game against PAOK, they played okay. He's going with this sort of, he went 5-4-1 on Thursday night, then he's going back to 3-5-2, which is fine. You know, it's a system that obviously Barry wants to do. But they played no football. And I've seen them play away from home a couple of times, Hearts as well. I think in the first 15 minutes against Hearts at Tynecastle, they kicked the ball long maybe 10 or 11 times with no end product. So there's got to be a better way of playing for them. I get going to Kilmarnock, tough ground, tight ground, being resolute, playing the channels, getting it wide, crossing the ball. But there was none of that even yesterday, and they just got bullied. Vassell knocked them about. You know, the midfield battle was won by Kilmarnock. They didn't defend set players or crosses well when they should have done, when you've got 3 big burly centre-halves. They've got a player in Miovski who I think's a cut above most of the players in this division, but he doesn't get anywhere near the service that he craves. And, you know, they just looked a little bit patchwork to me, and it's another damaging defeat. But it's not just the defeat, it's the manner of it, Peter, as well. You know, they never let a glove hold Kilmarnock yesterday. Yeah,
and with that in mind, you're looking at the midfield and you're saying to yourself, well, if it's the midfield that's got to get the service as well. So you've got Connor Barron, Jamie McGrath and Graham Shinnie in there, and they're just not getting that supply out to the likes of Miovski.
No, I think
one shot in target, by the way, Ruffy.
No, I think if any other team had their 4 players in their team, you'd be expecting a bit more for them.
Yeah, and Duke's off it.
I think Duke's been affected by all the talk at the end of the season of where he was going and where he was wanting to go and the teams he thought he should be playing for. So that looks as if it's affected him. But if you're taking Graham Shinnie off just after half time, that shows you how bad the team's playing.
You know, the one player, right, he really probably should be thinking I should be as Miofsky. Yet no, he's still banging them in. You know, I get where Ruffy's coming from with the boy Duke. He had a really good season last year, but you can't dwell on these things. You got to just keep playing and keep, you know, contributing to the team, Peter. And at the minute, he just looks like he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Now, I might be wrong, but sometimes you get that with players. They get a bit of publicity, they get a bit of interest. It doesn't happen. The club are quite right not to sell him. You got to knuckle down, son, and earn your money here, and honour your contract.
Yeah, 9 goals for Miofsky. He's certainly contributing.
I think he's a good player, really good player, really good striker. Celtic, Rangers. I think he's that level. I think he could go in there and contribute to Celtic, Rangers. I'm not trying to sell him, but I think Aberdeen will struggle to hold on to him because, as Neil said there, he's still scoring goals in a team that's pretty poor at the minute and inconsistent. And he gets all types of goals. You know, he can run in behind. He's clever. I think he's a really, really talented player. And the likes of him and Shankland, I look at Rangers and I think both of them could get into the Rangers team right now and play.
Yeah, is Barry just struggling to find his feet? Is it just a case of Dave Cormack just needs to block out all the noise and let him find his feet?
I think when they go to Europe, I think you'll see a better Aberdeen. I think they're struggling with the workload. They've got a really tough run of games. They've got Motherwell away during the week, then they've got Hibs in the semi-final, then they're away to Pauk, and then they've got Celtic Rangers back to back. He's got a really, really tough run of games coming up, so
it is
he
tough,
needs to get results.
If you're a player and you're looking forward to it.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
They're all big games, Pete, you want to get your teeth into. I know they're a little bit low in confidence at the minute, but you're thinking, one win can turn the whole thing around again. Start looking forward and being excited about the games rather than, fearing them.
The semi-final's huge.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, I know you're saying that, and that's your attitude because that's your mindset. But I'm looking at that, and I'm saying, just me personally, Ruffy, from a journalistic point of view, I'm looking and I'm saying to myself, right, Motherwell, you better win there because you could have it tough against Hibs. If you lose the semi-final, you're going to get pelters, you're going to get battered by Salonika over there, and then you've got Celtic and Rangers. My God, by the time you get to the 30th of November, they'll be calling for your head. I mean, that's the way we think about it.
And Neil's attitude is right, but you get people who have got different attitudes. The Hangman and I always go back to wee Bertie. When wee Bertie was the manager at Thistle, if we come into the dressing room at half time and we get beat 3-0, I mean everybody was getting kicked about all over the place. There was bottles flying every and then he left, right, and then Peter Cormack took over. Nicest guy you could ever meet. So just too nice, And we were up at Dundee United. And we're getting beat 4-0 at half time. We're all sitting in the dressing room going, what kind of reactions are going to be here? And he came through the dressing room and he went, this is going to be 7 or 8.
Honestly, and by the way, I'm not surprised Peter took that attitude because Peter had played in a brilliant Liverpool side. So he's gone to get Partick Thistle and thought,
Pete's not believing it, he had no chance of it.
Exactly. Have you ever been on the end of a spanking? Have you ever been at half time and thinking, we could be on 7 or 8 here and we're getting battered?
Well, what you end up doing as a manager is you start watching the clock. You know what I mean? You're like, that clock's going really slow here. It's 3-0 here, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember Tommy Burns telling me, the late Tommy, when these were playing Barcelona and it was Martin O'Neill, and Tommy used to stand at the other side of the dugout.
No, it was him and Gordon.
No, it was him and Gordon.
And Gordon shouts, Gordon that shouts him there. And he goes out as if to say, I'll be a bit of advice here, and he just walked out and he goes, we're going to club.
Gordon tells a brilliant story. Celtic, Barcelona, Parkhead. It was 3-2. It was a great game. Barry, funny enough, Barry was playing that night, and he comes over and he goes, Gaffer, what do we do? Look, Gordon went, I don't know, but it's brilliant to watch.
Just run about.
I've never seen this before. It's really good.
Exactly. What do you do when you're coming up against Iniesta and Xavi and Messi? Absolutely amazing. Iniesta, Xavi, Messi, none of them were at Livingston, Dundee, because I kid you not, Ruffy, our reporter Adam at half time, such was the dire game that he was watching, the biggest cheer was for a fan who leapt like a salmon in front of his dad from the stands to head a ball back into play, because it was absolutely dire. Tony Docherty will not care a jot for that, because what happened is Montagna gets sent off and Dundee take full advantage of it.
Yeah, and that was the turning point. Obviously, them getting into 10 men, and then the defending after that, particularly the first goal, was poor. They got a wee break of the ball, centre half sticks it in the back, and then they just lose it completely for the second one. But certainly, as the game was going at 11-all, it could have went either way. But the sending off, and I think David Martindale will have a few words to say to the boy.
Well, interestingly enough, this is what he had to say about the players that he'd signed and the players, obviously, that he'd still retained at Livingston. They knew what kind of season was coming.
I think I get it, fans are frustrated, but I think you've got to put it into perspective. Anybody that came to this club this year thinking we're not going to be a relegation battle is kidding themselves on. I spoke about it, I've been very vocal about it. I know we're going to be in a relegation battle. I think there's going to be potentially 6-7 teams all doing something very, very similar.
Well, for me, and I like David, I've got a lot of time for him, for me that's a sad indictment on our league. Now, I don't care how many times they spin it. At the kick-off on the first day of the season, you have, effectively, 8 to 9 teams playing match day one thinking, right, let's try and avoid relegation.
Yeah, you get that in a lot of leagues, Pete. You get that in the Championship. You get that in the
with 18 clubs.
Pardon?
With 18 clubs, with 18 clubs in the Championship, or sometimes 20-22.
Yeah, I mean there'll be a lot. Well, maybe not so many, but you know, the first thing Premier League managers look for, remember historically, was let's get to 40 points.
Yes.
You know what I mean. So there'd be 10 clubs maybe in the Premier League thinking of that this season. There'd be 10 or 12 in the Championship, you know, thinking of that as well. So yeah, the SPFL isn't exclusive to that. But, you know, you can see what the competition is like. We've talked about this, you know, that the quality hasn't been there since maybe, you know, pre-COVID. And, you know, a lot of clubs are struggling or maybe finding their feet again after, you know, the losses. But it's competitive. But the quality isn't what it was maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago. I think that's, you know, without being over the top, I think that's pretty honest. And I think Dave speaks honestly there. You know, you'd rather have a manager coming out and telling you how it is than sort of trying to fluff it up and that. And he never fluffs anything up. You know, he rolls his sleeves up and goes, look, this is the way it is. This is the reality of it. Do you want to come and play for me? Yeah, great. Well, it's not going to be a bed of roses.
Yeah, and if anybody was knocking him for it, obviously we have a slight laugh about it with him as well, about the fact that he's trying to move Joel Noubley on. He's trying to move Joel Noubley on to get money, to get him maybe 1, 2 or 3 players that can help him in the battle for relegation, because he knows it's coming.
Yeah, they're in a dogfight, Peter. I think, unfortunately for them as well, they gave out, I think, 3,000 or 4,000 tickets at the weekend to kids who came to the game. And usually that happens when you reduce prices or you let people in, you usually get beat. So that's a really, really poor result for them, because Dundee are definitely one of those teams that's going to be in a relegation battle. So for Dundee to go and turn them over is a really, really poor result for Livingston. But he's right, there is going to be 5 or 6 teams, I think, in the mix to get relegated. But you've got to give credit to Dundee. I think he started well, Tony Docherty. I fancied them to start the season. I think they've got a wee bit of everything. They've got legs, they've got youngsters, they're hungry, they're just been promoted, and they're sitting in 5th in the table. They've only lost 2 games out of 9, and they're pretty competitive. Obviously, with a tough game coming up against Rangers.
Yeah, Tony Docherty himself obviously delighted with the 2-0, and it's always good when you get somebody who's not known for scoring goals chipping in with 2, and that's Joe Shaughnessy.
I've never seen Joe, and I haven't Joe since a kid, scoring 2 goals in a reserve game, let alone a first team game. So, no, I'm delighted for him. Joe's the epitome of what my team is. You know, he's my first signing, and you know, he's a brilliant captain. You know, he leads by example every day. He trains properly every day, and it's just good to see boys like him getting his reward.
Yeah, absolutely. And his goals, he's in the box, Ruffy.
Yeah, he certainly is, you know, but, you know, you would expect him to be in the box at long throw-ins and corners and that, but he got the couple of breaks his way, and I don't know how he sneaked the first one, and, you know, it seemed to be, you know, in the blind side of everybody. I think he just sclaffed it as well. It just sort of went in the near post. But no, it's nice to see players like that, you know. When even at St Mirren, he was sort of dropped to the St Mirren team, and you were saying to yourself, why, you know, because he's the kind of player, you know, that you would want in your side. But no, he's been given another chance there, and made him the captain, and he's scoring goals, and good luck to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Will he add to that this season? Will we be talking about another Joe Shaughnessy goal?
Yeah, I think he will. I think he's a danger at set pieces, Peter, and I was surprised that St Mirren let him go. I thought he was pretty decent centre half, and He's now captain at Dundee, so fair play to him. He's had a good weekend.
Yeah, 6-goal thriller at Fir Park. We thought they were dead and buried, didn't we, at 3-1?
We did, but the Beerathon, who I've spoken about last week, they like him at Motherwell. He came in and they were raving about him in training. They've been desperate to get him back fit, and he came on and turned the game for them, Peter. He came on and won the penalty. He went through and the goalkeeper brought it down, and then he tucked the penalty away, and then he set up the second goal for Wilkinson, and he gave them a wee lift when they needed it. But listen, Ross County will be kicking themselves. They should have won the game. They scored 2 great goals as well. Murray's goal, great finish, what a great, lovely turn, and just passed it into the corner of the net, Brophy. So they'll be devastated, but fair play to Motherwell for keeping going to the end, because we didn't see it.
Well, keeping going to the end is a trait that manager Stuart Kettlewell is hoping they continue.
Motherwell were on a run of 4 consecutive defeats before goals in the 88th and 94th minute rescued a point in a dramatic 3-3 draw with Ross County here at the weekend. Now, as you can imagine, manager Stuart Kettlewell wanted to speak about his players' attitude and mentality at today's press conference.
Yeah, it's an excellent trait to have as a football club, and I'm pretty proud of that, to be honest. I don't know what the stats are. I suppose I could probably go and have a wee look at that, but we've scored a lot of goals, 90 plus minutes, or sort of 87, 88, 89 minutes, and I think that's a brilliant trait to have as a football club.
The manager will be hoping that the result can spark a more positive run of results, and that starts here on Wednesday when they take on Aberdeen. Aberdeen boss Barry Robson was speaking after the Dons' defeat to Kilmarnock on Sunday, saying that he expects to win this match, but I don't think that Stuart Kettlewell agrees.
So they obviously expect that they're going to come here on Wednesday and win the game. I think he said about winning here and taking them into a semi-final. So we just have to put ourselves in a position where we acknowledge that the expectation is that they will come here and they will win the game. But I just think that we've had a number of performances here at home, especially where it would suggest that it's going to be a difficult place for them to come, and that we're very, very competitive. And by getting that point and hopefully breaking a bit of a cycle for ourselves, then surely we will be going in there with a bit of confidence, and I think we will.
Okay, just stick that newspaper up on the wall and get the boys going.
You don't need to do a team talk. I can't believe. I'd be very surprised if Barry has said that, but obviously, that's manna from heaven for a coach. There you go, boys. They think they're going to roll in here and expect to win. Based on what as well, I think up until a few weeks ago, I thought Motherwell were one of the teams of the season as well. Some of the football they played, but they just hit a bad run, a trough almost, where they're losing too many games. And I suppose you get that in the league, Peter, where they're a bit up and down. But the game at the weekend was a fantastic product. I thought Ross County played brilliantly and some great chances first half. And then you're thinking they've run away with it, but Motherwell bounced back really well. It's looked a really good, exciting game of football.
Yeah, and the other thing that Ruffy used to say to me on a regular basis, and he alluded to it earlier there, is who would want to get into the dressing room first after you've squandered a 2-goal advantage. Ruffy used to wait till about 9 or 10 and let some of his teammates go in so Bertie could...
Slow walk off the pitch.
Exactly, we've all been there. And obviously, from that point of view, some of the players must have been walking slowly into the Ross County dressing room because Malky Mackay was raging.
Scored 2 good ones. Then we've another chance to go 3 and miss another reasonably easy chance. And then we cut our own throats. The first one's dreadful, the penalty. We run a free kick wide right, and within 5 seconds they've got a penalty at our end. So really poor as far as we were concerned with that one. Second one's even worse, where our player proceeds to smash the ball off another player and it goes to the boy and he puts the ball in the net, and you're giving them a lifeline.
Okay.
And then did he go?
That's Malky usually waits about 25 minutes before coming into the press room. That's him calming down.
Yeah.
He's right. Motherwell didn't get the draw. They gave them it. The penalty in the last goal. If you're winning 3-1, with that many minutes left in the game, you've got to see it out. You've got to have experienced players on the park to see the games out.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a table. Here's how it looks in the Premiership at the moment. Wee bit of life at the top, Tam.
Yeah, there is. Good week for Rangers. As I said, they finished off, beating the Hibs 4-0 and then a good result in Europe, and then closing the gap to 5 points at the top. It gives them a bit of hope of catching catching Celtic. But as you can see in behind there's 11th place and 4th place, 4 points. You know, 4 points in there, so there's very, very tight in that league.
Yeah, absolutely. The bottom end of it, Ruffy, from 11 to 5, 11 to 4 even, is you can go either way in 2 games.
Well, it's going to change this week. The midweek games and the games at the weekend, you know, and I'm sure it'll just take a complete and utter twist depending on the way the results go.
Yeah, and the predictor, I was terrible at the weekend. I mean, look at that. Ruffy, you are just out in front. Adam, Tam, Alison.
I've had a decent week.
By the way, I'm level with Alison and Patrick, one of our reporters, just in behind us. And look, DJL is at 62.5. Now that tells me that DJL is just taking some mental scorelines, Ruffy, and putting them in there because he's doing well with Brian and Bunsen Burner in there and Pat Lowe. We're not too far away from them. I think we need to start hitting a rich vein of form, Ruffy.
Yeah, well, I think there was 4 of those the weekend. I don't think we could have got, you know, but certainly, you know, all you need is 4 or 5 correct scores and you're up there.
You're flying. Yeah, absolutely. There's the insight into our predictor. You can still take part in it, by the way. Monthly prizes and, of course, over and above that, the overall winner will pick their partner and come to the PFA Player of the Year Awards with us at the end of the season. So down south, Spurs still top, but the bragging rights in the Manchester derby certainly belong to Pep. He had signalled that Man United weren't really who they were looking at for the title. They're no longer considered, you know, the bigwigs in that league, and he went out and proved it.
Yeah, I mean, it was emphatic. It was a real harsh lesson for Manchester United. To be fair, Peter, they've not been great all season, Man United, and they've gone sort of full circle almost to where they were when Ten Hag took over. You're thinking after last year, they won the League Cup, get into the top 4. That is real progress, and they've just seemed to, you know, going backwards again. The level of performance all season really has been so poor, and Manchester United, Man City absolutely dominated the game from start to finish, ran them ragged, and it could have been a lot more than 3-0. They were absolutely superb, and I think it sent out a message to the rest of the Premier League, that one yesterday from Man City. They looked really, really good again.
Is Ten Hag under pressure?
He must be. I don't think that they'll make a change, but I think there's so much, you know, destabilisation going on behind the scenes with talks of, you know, Ineos taking over and 25% of the club. But I think he's safe for now, but can't go on like that. They're sitting 8th in the table. They scratched the result against Copenhagen at home, but it's not just the results, it's the performances. It's so fragmented. They look awful at the back. They've got no legs in midfield. There was a caption on before the game. Out of Anthony, Martial, Haaland, Rashford, Garnacho, 2 goals between the 5 of them, all season. That is absolutely shocking.
Yeah, and in contrast, the night before, in fact 2 nights before, the Ange bandwagon keeps rolling on.
Ange Ball's still going strong. I just hope they can keep it going. I really do. I love him. I think he's a great manager. He plays football the way I want to watch it. The way managers want to play it. He's brave enough to do it, and he's getting his rewards. But he's got a tougher run of games coming up now. He had a good 3-game run. Luton, Fulham, and Crystal Palace. He's won the 3 of them. But there's sterner tests ahead, including a trip to Man City shortly.
Yeah, we didn't know that you really loved Ange, but you've mentioned it on the last 6 shows. Ruffy, the Ballon d'Or. They're going to announce the winner tonight. He's the overwhelming favourite. Do you give it to Haaland for banging the goals, or do you give it to the overwhelming favourite, it's Messi, who has already, you know, won this award 7 times?
I think it's got to be Haaland. You know, I know Messi's a wonderful player, but I mean, in the last year, you know, I don't see him up there with many great moments, you know, the way we used to get it when it was Barcelona. I used to see all the goals he scored, the wonderful goals he scored. For me, it's Haaland.
Okay, for me, it's Messi because, you know, when you get to the latter stages of your career and you ultimately, with the nation...
Yeah, it's a story, isn't it?
It's the story. It's the World Cup. It's everybody wanted him to be crowned the king, and he delivered.
Yeah, so I think it's the story more than the overall performance of the year and what he achieved in that World Cup. Not just his performances, you know, in the final and the semi-final when he really turned it on, but just the whole story that everyone wanted him to put that icing on what's been probably the best career I've ever seen. And I agree with Ruffy as well. I think Haaland would be very, very unlucky not to win it, but I don't think he will.
Yeah. So would you vote for Haaland or would you give it to Messi?
Sentimentally, I'd go for Messi, but if I was being professional about it, you'd have to say Haaland.
Yeah, well...
If I was being professional, which I'm not, I would go for Messi.
Yeah.
Messi, got to give it him. World Cup winner, best ever for me.
Absolutely. This
scored in competitive games, not bounce games as
Tell you
well.
what, by the way, Bellingham as well.
He could win the young player.
How good has he been?
He might win it next year.
Classical with the weekend. Incredible year he's had, Tom.
Harry Kane's goal.
Yeah, from the halfway line. Did you see Harry Kane's goal? Unbelievable.
Oh, he's a shocker.
I think Ruffy
was about 30 yards outside the goal when he hit it.
Yeah.
Was that the 7th or the 8th one, Ruffy? The beat it.
I knew you were going to pick on the goalie, by the way. But he's still...
He turns round. Right, and runs towards the goal. I can't even see where the ball's coming.
Yeah, went as flat as a pancake for the Rolling Stones as well. They're thinking they've sponsored the Barcelona shirt, and then Jude Bellingham comes in and spoils the party for them. Anyway, apart from anything else, I hope you enjoyed the show. You can listen to it on the podcast. Every week you'll get a variety of programmes, and I know a lot of people are downloading the podcast and thoroughly enjoying it. And when we're out on the road, Ruffy and myself and Tam as well, certainly the feedback from our figures on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Thank you so much for supporting PLZ Soccer. We're giving you so many different types of programming, from the Women's Football Show to Straight Talk this week with a fantastic interview with Graham Skinner, the lead singer of Hipsway. If you're of a certain vintage, it'll be great to hear Graham talk about his life on the road with a very famous Scottish pop band. And also we have the journos. That's a chance for you to see 4 journalists sitting on a couch fighting and arguing. Some things never change. And over and above that, the football show with Lee McCulloch on Friday as well. From Alan, from Tam, from Neil Lennon, myself, Peter Martin, thanks for listening and watching.